Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to talk about how we have become a civilization addicted to emotion. And this is in line with the other subjects that I've been talking about lately. It all ties together. Now, for the last 5 years or so, I have been in what I could only classify as some of the most difficult circumstances that a man in our Western society could be in. And at first, it was extremely difficult, extremely challenging. And the challenging aspect of it is that, man, I felt really strongly about what was going on. I mean, this was my life. This was my well-being. This was my physical being that was and is being totally messed with unjustly. Now, if that doesn't get you upset, right? I don't know what does. And I'm, of course, assuming that something like this is happening to you. And the emotional argument, the injustice of the situation replays again and again and again in my mind. And these thoughts, about the injustice, the unfairness, the inequality, how things have gone bad, these types of thoughts create a certain type of feeling. Thoughts create feelings. Sometimes I suppose feelings create thoughts. And over time, I became sick, angry, bitter, unhealthy, not operating at an optimal level. Why? Because I was upset. This is no way to be for a man in desperate situations, all right? You're in a desperate, difficult, unfair situation. All of the men are. If you think your feelings about it are going to serve you in extricating yourself from it, well, maybe, Anger is as good as courage in a fight. But what if the argument itself, the situation itself, is not what we're really interested in, but rather we're interested in the emotional outburst? Growing up, my mother and father would argue. My mother was a drinker, and my father was a responsible working man, but, he was somewhat closed off, I suppose. Can't really blame him. But she would bait him. She would lure him into terrible emotional arguments. And it wasn't like he was overreacting, like she had, spent the house money that was going to be used for, the utilities and for mortgage, and she had, gambled it away. So it isn't like, wow, you're overreacting here. No, he wasn't overreacting. But she could lure him into this. And it was interesting. In my later life, I would get into, disputes, arguments with women and sometimes just other people. And I would notice that I was adopting the patterns and the habits and the mannerisms of my father when he was lured into an emotional argument with my mother. And I thought this was just normal. It's not normal, okay? There's a double-edged sword in the whole gynocentric world that we exist in. And I've spoken about this, but it's hard to really get the point across. What if the individual points of the argument are not important at all? What if I want to give you an argument where I don't care about pro or con I don't care about whether you're in favor of it or against it. All I care about is that a degree of emotionality is brought in to the entire argument. I don't care what the points are. I don't care who says what. All I care is that it turns into an emotional argument. So what if, you're a young mind trying to figure out where you are, how to get ahead in life, and the arguments and the points that people are making, they seem to be absurd. They seem to be almost pointless. But the manner in which they engage in this behavior is paramount. It's critical. We're not conditioning you to consider the issue. The mainstream media is not conditioning you to consider the issue and to look at the issue and the points and then to decide where you are. No, that's why? Who cares? All they want is an emotional reaction from you, a trigger. All they want to do is hook in to your automatic nervous system where you don't generally have control over it. So I listen to these very intelligent, rational men, and they have these great points, but then they get lured into some interpersonal ego, ideological stance on an issue that they feel strongly about. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But what if the person that you're doing it with doesn't care about the point at all and is just luring you into the behavior? And what I'm suggesting is that's exactly what's going on here. Okay, we've been normalized to emotional outbursts. This is the way. I feel triggered. Okay, I don't feel I'm being treated fairly. The thing is that when you're in this emotional state, it's a different part of your brain. It's not the frontal lobe. In other words, the media can stop you from thinking if they just bring up a subject that upsets you enough. They don't care about the points. It doesn't matter. Now the person becomes conditioned, habituated, normalized to an emotional outburst. And now they have you. That's it. You won't even be able to plan out your life because you're upset. You won't be able to deal with the situations that come up against you just in day-to-day life because you're in an emotional lockdown state. We talk about the fight or flight response. There's more to it than that. Okay. There's also the freeze response, very much like a deer caught in the headlights. There's other responses to it as well. So it's this complete emotional shutdown. It's this complete apathetic, indifferent attitude towards all aspects of life. And so the person will just give short answers. Yes, no, They barely vocalize. And what's happening is that their brain is being overrun by emotion, by this is unfair. Why are you doing this to me? I can't believe civilization is going to be destroyed. Okay, very powerful, strong emotions. And it turns off the ability of the rational mind. Now, if we can get you into this response 50 times a day, and that's nothing, how can that person have the ability to collate all the diverse, interrelated aspects of their life and their personality into a set of behavior, discipline, habits that serve what it is they genuinely want? They don't even know what they genuinely want. They're just triggered. We're all just triggered. Now, can we bring some intellect and reasoning ability to, this emotional situation? Yes, we can, right? But the foundation, the basis of it is an emotional reaction and response, and it's normalized. So much so that the actual actions and the things that we set out to do and accomplish are secondary to how we and others feel about it. Now, I'm not saying that, we're rejecting feelings and emotion. That would be that would be point, you couldn't do it. Basically Spock, from Star Trek. And even he has, these emotional problems at least every 7 years or so, right? Interesting. Spock as a kind of metaphor for MGTOW, right? So I'm just saying, don't fall into this trap, okay? If you feel yourself, getting all emotional and angry and worked up over something, take a couple steps back, all right? You might be getting baited into that response. And the person doing it might not care about the issue at all, and is just trying to habituate and normalize emotional behavior so that now your life decisions as a man become emotional decisions. Is emotion a part of it? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. But is it the main part? No, it's not. And if you're stuck in the throes of your feelings, you're not going to be able to bring your human intellect, your frontal lobes, your reasoning and logic to bear on the issue, right? Okay. I think you understand what I'm trying to say here. I think you have some idea as to how we as men and MGTOW can apply this. Don't let yourself get lured into, an emotional response to something that needs your discipline, your strength, your wisdom, your experience, okay? Bring those things to bear on the situation, because I can assure you, getting upset and railing within your own mind and becoming angry, for the most part, will just make you sick, right? Now, if you can use the anger a little bit to motivate you, that's workable. It really is. But emotion is like a fire that burns, okay? And if you can put your stones around the campfire and control and light it at the right time, it will serve you well. But if you just light a fire and let that thing burn, it'll burn down your campsite. It'll burn down your entire camp. It'll give away your position. So you get the metaphor, right? Use your emotions to serve your goals and ambitions in life. Don't get stuck in meaningless bullshit, all right? Recognize it, reject it, turn away from it. Now, it's not easy because this is pretty much what everybody does. You're coming into an argument with, 5 or 6 people and they're all worked up, right? And you want to and they're all wrong. And you want to get your point across because you're right, or you have these particular insights. But that's not what's going on. It's an emotional, clusterfuck. I'm sorry. That's what it is. And you want to be a part of it? No. Will it serve you to be a part of it? No. Will it serve you to detach yourself from it, examine it, understand it, and then respond accordingly? Oh yeah, that'll serve you. So that's the habit. It's like the difference between a kid, who wants a piece of candy, pitching a fit and laying on the ground and screaming and crying, versus a kid who wants some candy and realizes that he might need to get a job, delivering papers, selling lemonade, cutting lawns, household chores. Not the emotional, angry response of not getting what I want, but rather the thoughtful, logical analysis of the situation to secure what I want. And if I let the emotion get in there, in between that, it goes off course. Test it for yourself. You know what I mean? That's how it works with me. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate. Look, I need people to subscribe. I've just been looking at my subscriber numbers and they're not going up. And I don't know, how am I supposed to get that emotional feedback, to create that loop of, yeah, I like this. It's a dopamine hit. I want to do this more. So please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And join me again, Howard Dares. I hope to, plan to, and will have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.